In this video, I'm going to show you 4 amazing StudioVerse chains for snare tracks that, in a matter of seconds, will give your snares all the colour, impact and attention they need to stand out in a mix. If you want to get started with any of these chains, you can find them by typing the names of the chains in the StudioVerse search. A much simpler way is to drag and drop the links in the description below directly onto StudioVerse within your session. Now the chains that I'm going to show you in this video are here under My Liked Chains. If you're looking for a really quick and easy way to audition chains that you like, then don't overlook this part of StudioVerse. If we go back over to the search, you'll see that the AI has detected that this is a snare track, and we've got all of our chain options below. And let's say I'm auditioning some of these and I want to compare this chain with something else further down the search. The easiest way to do that is to click the heart symbol. And let's say I want to compare it with this one and this one. And if we click on liked, you'll find those chains all together. So let's take a look at the 4 snare mix chains that I'm going to recommend in this video. And later, I'm going to share with you an additional chain that I've created. So let's start with the Snare Hype chain by David Komuski, and let's just listen to how it sounds right out of the box. Okay, so that gives a lot of impact and quite a lot of presence without even touching the macros. But let's see what else we can get out of this. So back round again. Push the drive. Let's adjust the mud. Push. Just adding a little bit of drive just made the snare feel like it had an extra layer, almost like a hand clap added to it. Let me show you. Now let's move on to the second chain, CLA Snare. Again, let's just take a listen to this right out of the box to hear what it can do. Okay, so we've got more of an ambient and airy feel to this chain. Let's jump in with some of those macros and hear how far we can take the sound. Let's add some extra weight back in with the girth. Some extra crack. And room. Excellent, that's a great option there to try if you need some extra air and some elevation out of your snares. Now the next chain is going to be a touch drier, and it's called the Distortion of Doom by Mick Gordon. Let's take a listen. Dry, it's in your face, it's got just the right amount of crack. Really not a lot you need to do here. Let's have a play with the macros anyway. Let's just play around with the distortion. Back it off. No, it's gotta have some. Yeah, I like that chain very much. It's got just the right amount of punch and energy, and I didn't really need to touch the macros at all. Out of the box, that's a winner. Let's move on to the 4th chain, Snare in a Dope Space by Spoonbill. And this is more of a creative option you can try if you want your snares to sound a bit more ambient and dreamy and ethereal. Take a listen. So we've got some nice phasey effects, reverb, ambience, some beautiful stereo spread. But let's play around with those macros and give you an idea just how much further you can go with this chain. Add some heat. Some grit. Tighten the sound. Now, as I said earlier in the video, I've got one more chain for you, and this is one I created for snares. It's built mostly around parallel splits. I've got a few different types of distortion going on using stomp boxes, a few different styles of reverb and slap delay, and all of these parallel effects are controllable over here on the macros, and the overall sound is then fed into BB tubes, just to add a bit of warmth. And as this is really an additive chain, meaning we're just adding volume most of the time, we have got an L1 limiter at the end of the chain to catch any rogue peaks that might come through. Now, with this chain, don't worry about the parallel splits, unless you do want to go under the hood and tweak all of this, make it your own, you're more than welcome to. Just worry about the snare sound and dial in these macros until you find a sound that you like. Now, what I've done with this chain is that I've taken some inspiration from the 4 chains I've already shown you. So we've got a bit of distortion where it matters, and reverb, basically the things that can make your snares sound as dry or as wet as you want them, as close or as far, and as pretty or as dirty as you want them. Let's take a listen. Now, on the macros, we've got a control for dry. Does what it says on the tin. If you turn this all the way down, you're just going to get the affected parallel racks. It'll sound something like this. And if we blend the dry back in, you get the original signal back in as well. Now, if you want to change the tone and the character of your snares, you'll want to play around with the dist whack and dist crack. Take a listen. Again, like we had in one of the earlier chains, adding a little bit of distortion can give the impression that we've added an extra layer or sample to the snare, such as a clap, which is a great way to thicken a snare. But how about adding some extra space? Well, out of the box, we've already got some of that going on with a short reverb, an airy reverb, and a slap delay. Let's play around with these. Air verb. Short. And slap. Now, if you want to get even extra body out of your snares, we have another control here called low pitch blend. And all this does is make a copy of your original snare and it pitches it down. Let's take a listen. Now, the last control that we've got here is the overall crunch, and this is the whole effect, so dry into the parallel splits, into the BB tubes. And I recommend that you use this subtly. Let's take a listen. About there. Okay, so the eagle-eyed viewers of you out there may have noticed that I haven't actually named this chain yet. That's because it's not public. So let's do it together so you can learn how you can share your own chains with the StudioVerse community. First, I'm going to select Save As, and I'm going to give the chain a name, SnareVerse. Why not? Let's give it some tags. Electronic snare. And I reckon this could work quite well on claps as well. Let's load an image and a short description of the chain. And importantly as well, we need to add an audio ID. And what this does is that it trains the musical AI that StudioVerse uses to catalogue and search for chains. All we need to do is hit scan and put our session into playback. There we go, we've got an audio ID. That goes up into the clouds, and it's nothing that you now need to worry about. Next, I want to make this chain public so you guys can play around with it. So we select that down here and click Save. And just to confirm, we can go under User, and there's my chain, SnareVerse, and it's public. And as I said at the beginning of the video, you can search for chains by typing in their names. Or a much simpler way is to just drag and drop the link that you'll find in the description below directly onto StudioVerse, and the chain will pop up automatically for you. For more information on StudioVerse and to learn how Waves Creative Access can unlock the full potential of StudioVerse, click on the links in the description below.